In this section, we're going to talk about the A tag. The A tag is maybe the most ubiquitous and the most powerful tag in all of HTML. It almost defines HTML. Remember that HTML stands for a hypertext markup language. Well, an obvious question then is, what is hypertext? And the answer is, hypertext is text with links. And links are what are defined using the A tag. The whole point of the internet or the web is that it consists of a whole bunch of documents connected via links. Pages or web pages are linked to each other via hyperlinks, which are embedded within the HTML content of each page. Again, this is almost the definition of the internet, and links are almost what define hypertext and make it different from ordinary text. For instance, the Google web search algorithm depends on crawling links. Links are everywhere. When we go to pages such as the New York Times, there could be hundreds or even thousands of links on a given web page. There's an entire mini industry devoted to parsing web pages. So links are pretty important, and these are defined using the A tag, which is the subject of our current example. So let's create an HTML page with our first link. That brings us to example 3. In this example, we are going to create a simple HTML page which has embedded within it a pair of links. These links will show up as clickable links in the browser. The user or the person interacting with the page can then click on these links and control will transfer to the destinations of those links, just like any links that we are used to. The way this is achieved is by including a pair of A tags in the HTML. You can see one A tag there that's highlighted, and it has the word HTML between the opening and closing tags, and the second A tag which has the word CSS between the opening and closing A tags. These two lines in the HTML correspond to the highlighted links in the browser on the right. You can see there the words HTML and CSS. And what happens if we click on those links? Well, let's say we clicked on the HTML link in our web page. The browser would then navigate to a different HTML page. And that HTML page would have HTML text, which looks like this. Looks like what you see on screen now. And the way in which that HTML would be rendered by the browser would also be different, and here it is now on screen. So by clicking on a link in our original page, we came to a different page. This page is titled What is HTML? And it has an entirely different set of contents. The way we got here was via the A tag in the original page that had a file embedded within it, example3 html.html, and you can see that this is the exact URL which shows up in the browser's URL bar. Likewise, had we clicked on the second link, the CSS link on our original page, we would have been redirected yet again to a different HTML page, which we are about to see now on screen. This different HTML page would have its own underlying HTML text, and it would be rendered by the browser in its own way. And yet again, we can see that it's the A tag in the original HTML page which dictated or determined where this new link took us to. That A tag gave the destination as example3-css.html, and we can verify from the contents of our browser's URL bar that that's precisely we have now landed. Now that we've gotten our heads around the idea of the A tag linking to a different page, let's examine the precise HTML syntax because it's a little bit nasty, especially when you're looking at it for the first time. What you see on screen now is what defines a link. We set up a link using an A tag, some clickable content, and a closing A tag. Let's parse this. Common sense tells us that there are a couple of bits that make up a clickable link. There is what the clickable content is, which could be text or an image, and then the destination of the link. In other words, where our browser will land if we actually click on the link. Quite obviously, both of these are required for the link to make any sense at all. Let's now examine how we specify these two bits of information using the A tag. The bit that's got to be clickable, the portion that is going to be clicked on by the user, has got to be specified between the opening and the closing A tags. This clickable component is enclosed in the A tag. It could be images, text, or just about anything. In our first example on screen, it's the word HTML. In this next example that you see on screen now, it's an image with the source pointing to that skeleton image which we've encountered a couple of times. Remember again that whatever is between the opening and the closing A tags will be clickable. And that's what's highlighted now on screen. The clickable component here is an image with source attribute equal to skeleton.png. Returning to our original example, the clickable bit there was the word HTML. HTML appeared in the browser as a clickable link, and when you clicked on it, the browser would go to a different web page, in other words, to the destination of this link. So, the other bit that we need to specify is the destination. Remember that the clickable component could be anything. It need not be a single word. It could consist of paragraphs, just about any HTML content. In any case, next up is the destination, i.e. the page that this link points to. Now, how does the current web page know where this web page or this .html page is going to land? Well, the answer is that this is a relative link. This is a relative path. The resource is assumed to be in the same folder or directory as the current web page, and the path then specifies an offset from this location. It's also possible to specify an absolute path. For instance, we could have just specified that we would like this link to go to www.google.com, for instance. That would be an absolute path. We'll talk about those later. For now, let's focus on relative paths. You can see clearly that this is a part of the opening A tag. In fact, it's assigned to a specific attribute, which is called the href attribute. Href is a specific attribute used to specify the location, the landing location of this link. Href stands for hypertext reference. Href is not a very intuitive word, but it appears all the time in HTML. Again, the href attribute of the opening A tag dictates the destination URL of this link. Href stands for hypertext reference, and it basically references some location which will be opened in the browser if you click on the link.